welcome back, English learners, to the How to Better English podcast. I'm Liam.
And I'm Emma. It is fantastic to be here with all of you again for another insightful episode focused on making your English more accurate and more fluent. Liam, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderfully, Emma. Thank you. I'm especially excited for today's topic because even advanced learners stumble on these little pitfalls. It's all about refinement today. But before we dive into how to avoid common English mistakes, we have a very quick request for everyone listening right now.
Absolutely. If you enjoy this content, if it helps you understand the nuances of the language, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and give us a quick like. Those actions really help other learners find us and grow our amazing community.
And speaking of community, the most important thing you can do for us is engage in the comments section, no matter which platform you are listening on. We are so incredibly pleased to read your comments and your messages. We read every single one, and they often guide our future episode topics.
We genuinely love hearing from you. We want to know where you are tuning in from today. So, for today's specific question, please tell us, what is your main goal for learning English? Is it for travel, career advancement, academic study, or just pure enjoyment? Tell us your motivation down below.
Yes, please let us know. It helps us tailor the drills and examples we use. Thank you so much for being an active part of this learning experience. Now, Emma, let's jump straight into the topic. We are tackling those tricky little errors that slip into our conversation and writing. Avoid common English mistakes.
This is a huge topic, Liam, because mistakes are a natural and necessary part of learning. However, recognizing the most frequent errors allows us to move from simply being understood to speaking and writing with precision and professionalism. We're going to cover everything from tricky prepositions and tense issues to those notorious false friends.
I love that term, false friends. It sounds like something from a spy novel. We'll get to those, but let's start where many problems begin, tense troubles. Specifically, the confusion between the simple past and the present perfect.
That is the number one challenge for many speakers whose native languages don't have a direct equivalent to the present perfect tense. The rule is simple, but the application is tricky. The simple past is used for finished actions in the past, often with a specific time reference, like yesterday or last week.
For example, I visited Paris last summer. It is finished. It happened at a definite time.
Exactly, but the present perfect, which uses have or has plus the past participle, connects the past action to the present. The two main uses are 1. An action that started in the past and continues now, or 2. An action that happened at an unspecified time in the past and the result is relevant now.
This is where the mistake happens. A lot of learners might say, I live here for 5 years.
That structure is incorrect because for 5 years tells us the action of living is ongoing. The correction must be the present perfect. I have lived here for 5 years. This signifies that you started living here 5 years ago and you are still here today.
Another common error happens when people use the simple past for life experience where no specific time is mentioned. They might say, I went to Japan.
If you want to express the general life experience that happened sometime between birth and now, without specifying when, use the present perfect. I have been to Japan. If you add the specific time, then the simple past is required. I went to Japan in 2018.
It really comes down to whether the time frame is closed or open. Let's move on to the second major pitfall, preposition pitfalls. These small words like in, on, at, for, and to change the meaning of everything.
They truly do, and unfortunately, there are very few hard and fast rules, making them a memorization challenge. We rely heavily on what sounds natural, which is frustrating for learners. Let's look at 2 specific common errors.
Mistake number 1. Under prepositions, confusing depend on with depend of.
Yes, you must always use on. The outcome depends on how hard we work. Never depend of. This is a fixed phrase. Another very common issue is arrive in versus arrive at.
The size of the location determines the preposition, doesn't it?
Precisely. We use arrive in for large geographical areas, countries, cities, or continents. We arrived in London, or they arrived in Australia. We use arrive at for specific, smaller locations, buildings, stations, or events. We arrived at the airport, or she arrived at the meeting.
That's a great distinction. Let's move to the notorious false friends. These are words that look or sound similar in English and another language but have completely different meanings.
These are dangerous because they lead to instant misunderstandings, often with words that seem very simple. For example, the common confusion between sensible and sensitive.
In many languages, a word that sounds like sensible actually means sensitive or emotional.
In English, sensible means practical, rational, or showing good judgment. Wearing a coat in the snow is a sensible choice. Sensitive, on the other hand, means easily affected by external changes or having feelings easily hurt. She is very sensitive to criticism.
If you tell someone you are a very sensible person, thinking you mean they are emotional and caring, you've just called them practical and level-headed. They are unlikely to be offended, but the meaning is lost.
Another huge false friend, especially for Romance language speakers, is the word actually. Learners often use actually when they mean currently or at the moment.
So they might say, I am actually studying for my exam, meaning I am currently studying.
The correct usage of actually in English is to introduce something true that contrasts with the previous assumption or expectation. It means in fact or really. The correct sentence would be, I am currently studying for my exam. But if someone asks, are you still working at the bookstore? You could reply, no, actually, I quit last month and started college.
That distinction is incredibly important for fluency. Let's turn our attention now to word choice and usage, specifically focusing on the difference between make and do. This is fundamental.
It is, and it causes huge confusion because in many languages, one verb covers both concepts. Generally speaking, do is used for actions, obligations, and repetitive tasks. It refers to the process or performance of something.
Like do your homework or do the laundry?
Exactly. And make is generally used for creation, construction, or producing something new. It refers to the result.
Like make dinner or make a cake.
But English breaks these rules constantly with fixed expressions, which is where the mistakes happen. We say, make a decision, make a mistake, make a promise. These are creations of thought or commitment, but we also say, do business, do a favor, do damage. These are actions or processes.
Let's practice a quick drill for our listeners. Emma, I'll give you the object, and you tell me whether we make or do it.
I accept the challenge, Liam.
The beds.
Make the beds.
An effort.
Make an effort.
The dishes.
Do the dishes.
Progress.
Make progress.
Your best.
Do your best.
A phone call.
Make a phone call. That drill demonstrates how much we rely on memorizing these fixed pairs. Learners need to stop thinking about the literal meaning of creation versus action and start memorizing the collocations.
We must emphasize that collocations are the bedrock of sounding natural. Learning vocabulary in chunks rather than single words dramatically reduces these kinds of errors. Now, let's talk about a classic grammar error, adjective and adverb confusion, specifically good versus well.
This is perhaps the most frequent error we hear, often related to describing performance or skill. Good is an adjective. It describes nouns. Well is an adverb. It describes verbs, how an action is performed.
So, if I want to talk about the quality of the food, I say, this food is good. Good describes the noun, food.
Correct. But if you want to describe how you cooked a food, you use the adverb, I cooked the meal well. Well describes the verb cooked.
The mistake usually happens when people describe how they feel or how they perform an action. They might say, I feel good, but I don't speak English good.
The first part is actually tricky. I feel good describes your emotional state and is correct. I feel well usually refers to your physical health. But the second part, I don't speak English good, is the error. It should be, I don't speak English good, is the error. It should be, I don't speak English well.
Because well modifies the verb speak.
Exactly. Another similar confusion happens with the word fast. This word is one of the tricky ones because fast is both an adjective and an adverb. You don't say fastly.
So, he is a fast runner, adjective, and he runs fast, adverb, no change.
Right. But generally, if the word describes how an action is done, you should be looking for the lie ending, unless the word is irregular, like well. If someone says, she talks quiet, they should correct it to, she talks quietly.
We have covered tense, prepositions, false friends, and adverbs. Let's tackle another very common usage error related to singular and plural nouns, uncountable nouns.
This is a huge category that includes words like advice, information, furniture, luggage, news, and equipment. These words are almost never made plural by adding an S in standard English.
So I cannot say, I have many informations.
No, that is incorrect. Information is uncountable. You must treat it as a singular mass. You would say, I have a lot of information, or I received several pieces of information. The counter is that countable noun that you use to measure it, like pieces or items.
And the same goes for advice. I hear people say advices all the time.
Yes, it is always advice. You can give some advice or a piece of advice. You cannot say, I need 2 advices. This grammatical structure is a reflection of how native English speakers conceptualize these things as non-discrete masses rather than individual items.
This also affects verb agreement. Since information is singular, you must use a singular verb. The information is helpful, not the information are helpful.
Crucially, news is another one. Even though it ends in an S, it is singular. The news is exciting.
That takes a lot of practice to rewire your brain to think about nouns in this way. Let's switch gears slightly and talk about one more specific set of false friends, ones that are very subtle, borrow versus lend.
Oh, this is a classic mistake involving the direction of the action. To lend means to give something to someone temporarily. To borrow means to take something from someone temporarily.
The mistake happens when people confuse who the subject and object are. A learner might say, "Can you borrow me $10?"
That sentence literally means, can you take me from yourself for a short time? The correct question must be, can you lend me $10? Because the person asking is requesting that the other person performs the action of lending.
If I am the one taking the money, I must use borrow, but the person I am asking is the one lending. So, can I borrow $10 from you?
Perfect. The direction is key. Lend flows away from the giver. Borrow flows toward the receiver. It is vital to get these directional verbs correct.
We've covered so much territory, Emma, but I want to spend a moment on another common structural error, sentence structure and redundancy, specifically when using words like although and but together.
The overuse of coordinating conjunctions. You must never use although and but in the same sentence to express contrast. They both perform the same function and using them together is redundant.
A learner might say, although it was raining, but we still went hiking.
That is grammatically incorrect. You must choose one structure or the other. Option 1, although it was raining, we still went hiking. Or option 2, without, although, it was raining, but we still went hiking.
The power of although or though is that it can start the subordinate clause, making the but unnecessary. It is a very common trap. Let's tackle one more grammar issue before we summarize. Modal verbs in the infinitive.
A simple rule, but frequently violated. After most modal verbs like can, could, will, would, should, must, and might, the following verb is always in its base form, the bare infinitive.
So if someone says, I must to go now, that is the mistake.
Exactly. You must drop the to. It should be, I must go now. Or, she should speaks better English. Wrong. It should be, she should speak better English. The base form is mandatory after these modals.
And this holds true even for negative forms, right? You don't say, he might not to arrive on time.
No, it's he might not arrive on time. We are building sophistication here, Liam. These small adjustments move a speaker from being functional to being polished. Understanding the bare infinitive after modals is a huge step in cleaning up grammatical errors.
Let's focus now on one final usage point that affects professionalism, agreement issues with collective nouns.
Collective nouns are tricky. These are single nouns that refer to a group of people, like team, family, government, or committee. In American English, these nouns are usually treated as singular. In British English, they can often be treated as plural, depending on the context.
Since we aim for clarity in most international settings, let's default to the American standard here, which is simpler.
Agreed. In the U.S., we generally treat them as a single unit, which means they take a singular verb. For example, the team is celebrating its victory, not the team are celebrating their victory, or the family is going on vacation.
The error often arises when people start thinking about the individuals within the group rather than the group itself as a single entity. They are thinking, wait, there are 11 people on the team, so it must be plural.
That thought process leads to the mistake. Stick to the rule. If the collective noun acts as one unit, it takes a singular verb. If you absolutely need to emphasize the individuals, you must use a phrase that makes the noun plural, like the members of the team are celebrating.
That's excellent. We've covered 6 distinct areas where learners frequently slip up, from time structures to single word usage. I think this gives our listeners a fantastic list of common mistakes to audit their own speech and writing.
I hope so. The key is consistent monitoring and practice. When you write or speak, keep these common errors in the back of your mind. Now, let's quickly recap the most crucial takeaways from today.
Excellent idea. Key takeaway number 1 for refining your English accuracy. Pay attention to tense. Remember that the present perfect using have plus the past participle is essential for actions that began in the past and continue now, or for unspecified past experiences. For example, I have studied English for 3 years.
Key takeaway number 2. Be mindful of prepositions and collocations. Stop trying to translate prepositions directly. Instead, memorize common fixed phrases like depend on, arrive at the station, and make a decision.
And key takeaway number 3. Watch out for false friends and usage errors like make versus do. Always verify that words that look familiar, like actually or sensible, have the same meaning in English as they do in your native language. If you're unsure, look up example sentences.
Fantastic recap, Liam. Mastering these points will undoubtedly increase your accuracy and boost your confidence in both professional and casual English settings.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive into avoiding common English mistakes. Thank you so much for joining us, Emma, for this incredibly detailed discussion.
My pleasure, Liam. And thank you to all our listeners. Keep practicing these corrections.
Don't forget to tell us in the comments section what your main goal is for learning English. We genuinely look forward to reading your responses. We will be back next time with more tips and tricks on the How to Better English podcast. Until then, happy learning.
Goodbye, everyone.